you keep crossing. So he definitely did become an ally to them, and even more than an ally to them at a certain point. And I think it happened fairly quick. I don't think that there was, Skinner definitely operated by the book. And so that's why there was so much contention between him and especially Mulder, because he kept crossing that line. And it just drove him crazy. And then it got to the point where he was like going, he saw that what he was doing, there was some validity to what he was doing, and then he just went in full force and support. I mean, to the point of putting his life in jeopardy multiple times. He cared about his kids.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi. I was wondering if there was a particular musical or movie or performance when you were younger that made you say, wow, I want to do that.
Yeah, Treat Williams in Hair. I worked with Treat on a series he was doing, and it was like, do you know who I'm talking about, Treat Williams?
Yeah.
His performance in Hair was incredible. It was one of the most, it was one of the freest performances I've ever seen an actor do, and it was like you could tell this guy was having so much fun, and that was really appealing to me, you know. And it was cool because I got to relay that story to Treat at that point. I mean, when I was a kid watching movies, I always thought about, there was I think it was Disney, and it was Toby Tyler Goes to the Circus or something like that. You know, do you remember that, Toby Tyler? Well, Kevin Corcoran played Toby Tyler, and he was one of the producers on Sons of Anarchy, which blew me away because if you look up Kevin Corcoran, you'll see who he is. He did a lot of Disney stuff. But it was about a little boy who ran away and ended up being in the circus, and that was not that I wanted to run away from my family or anything like that, but it just was really appealing to me, that gypsy, and then still it's like it's a gypsy life, and I dig it.
Thank you.
You bet. Hi.
Hi. Thanks for doing this, first of all, and
You're welcome.
Nice hairdo. This has been several years in the making, so I finally last night went and had that done.
Oh my God! Look at you.
So anyway, my question is, was there ever a time when you were on the X-Files and you were worried that Chris was going to come up to you and put his arm around you and say, you know what, Mitch, I think maybe Skinner's going to have to take a bullet this season?
All the time. All the time.
So did you get worried that
all actors do. All actors do, It's just we're a neurotic bunch. And and there were, if Chris didn't like my wife so much, I think I probably would have been killed. There were a lot of times, with the nanotechnology stuff, getting shot. There were a bunch of times when he could have been taken out. And I'm very grateful to Chris that he didn't take it there, and the fact that he's asked me to come back and do this next incarnation of the show. That's always a worry in the back of your mind. And as far as that, I have to tell you, I was in a grocery store one time. This woman came up to me and she pulled up her sleeve and she had a tattoo of my face on her arm. She had me here, she had David here, and then she had Anderson Cooper up here. I said, is there a theme here? What's going on? I was like, well, that's a really strange mixture. But she asked me to sign her arm, and I said, well, she's going to wash off. She said, no, I'm going to go right straight to the tattoo parlor and get it. I said, baby, why do you want to do that? Especially with that mug. My mug, not her mug. Excuse me.
Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you.
The first role of yours that I had seen was Shocker. And can you tell us a little bit about working with Wes Craven?
When I did, I actually just before we came over here, I did a interview for the. They're putting out a Blu-ray, Shocker Blu-ray, and I just did a movie that Wes produced about a month ago, which was great. He called up and said, "Would you do a cameo in this movie?" And I said, "Wes likes to do that. He likes to bring in actors that he's had in other movies and just have them come in and do small cameos, and I think it's really cool." So I did one for him in Vampire in Brooklyn with Eddie Murphy, and then in this thing too. And I was actually, they had offered me a role. I think it was in Scream. I was doing a series up in Toronto, so I couldn't go do it. But working when I didn't even know it was a Wes Craven movie when I went into to audition for Shocker. And I went into audition for a different role, for a smaller role. And then I walked in the room, and the casting director said, "This is Wes Craven." And I was like, "Oh, okay." It just kind of blew me away. And I said, I'm auditioning for Wes Craven." It was early in my career, and I was very excited about that. So anyway, I auditioned for this other role, and then they called my agent and said, "We want him to come back and read for Horace Pinker." I was like, all right. So I got to go in and just, kick out the jams and just go nuts. And I scared the hell out of Marianne Madalena, who was one of the other producers on the show. She freaked out and I think almost ran out of the room. But, so it was a successful audition. And then I ended up doing it and had just so much fun. And Wes Craven is one of the most amazing gentlemen I've ever known in my life. And I owe so much of my career to him and to Chris Carter. These are the two people that have been so instrumental in my career, and I owe him so much. So anytime I said, the guy who directed, Nick Simon directed this movie that I did, and he said, I'm trying to get Wes to remake Shocker, and I said, I will play a dead body in it. I'll just, if you want me just walking through the background, just let me do it, and I would do anything. I would do anything for him. You bet. Hi.
Hi, Mitch.
How are
Nice
you?
to meet you.
Good to meet you too.
I want to know if you have some advice for my daughter. She is majoring in theater at the University of Arkansas, Fort Smith. Any words of wisdom or how you got started with theater?
Just don't quit. Don't give up.
It's awesome.
It's as simple as that. You have to have such a tremendous passion to do this. Well, then just tell her. A lot of times I'll hear people say, "Well, I'm going to go out to LA for a couple weeks or a month, see what can happen." Nothing's going to happen. You have to put in the time, and you have to just tell her to do as much stage as she can, to watch. When I was doing one of my first jobs was working as an extra on Dallas back in the original show. I used to drive up from Austin and work background, and I did it just to see how things worked. How people handled themselves, and what's just the workings of everything, and also to get to feel comfortable being on set, to being around the whole deal. You just have to take classes, but the main thing is never quit, never give up. If you really have a passion for it, if she really has a passion for it, then she won't.
I thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Hi.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Good to meet you too.
I was just wondering, what was the most difficult scene or episode for you as an actor on The X-Files?
Probably making these pops. The hardest when I had all the nanos things were in my system, and they had to put on the prosthetics. That was just miserable. It was awful, and I'm not a big fan of prosthetics. if somebody offered me a series that I had to wear prosthetics in, I don't believe I'd do it. It's that much. It's that torturous. But dealing with that was not fun. And I mean, there was one day that I worked 22 hours, and it was a lot of it was in that makeup, and it was misery. And I also had like a bladder that I had to keep, pumping with my hand to make the veins pumping and stuff. So I'm like trying to say dialogue while I'm pumping. My head's exploding.
Multitasking.
Exactly. I could barely remember my lines, much less pumping a bladder.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, it looks like we're going to have to wrap up here anyways. Does anyone have any last questions? Or
Anything
do you want
else?
to say something?
Come on.
Got-
You can do it. Yeah.